That's the sound of a wireless system interfering with the phone. We have a problem with some interference. Nope.
G'day and welcome to another episode of The Purple Fringe. How are you, Chris?
I'm very well, thank you. It's been an epic few weeks for me. How about yourself?
Yeah, that's why we've been off air for about a month, I think, now.
So, John, tell the world what happened with your computer, your lovely Mac.
It died. It died a horrible, fiery death. No, the RAM decided to give up the ghost, or at least I'm hoping it's the RAM, because that's what's out for warranty replacement at the moment. So hopefully when that comes back, I'll have a wonderful new computer. But it was RAM from the United States of America, which means that the shipping takes forever.
Excellent. That is the fun of being in Australia and ordering stuff from the internet.
Because it's so much cheaper until you have to return it.
Exactly. Just send your big box in a big container.
Yeah. Yep.
$1,000 later.
Yeah. So, look, anyway, we've also had a couple of other things happening to keep us off the air from the audio podcast for a while. We've been doing a bit of video, Chris.
It has been some fun. But we've done, 4 episodes now of video?
3.5, I think, at this stage.
3.5.
Yep.
We've got... the 150, which we're talking about today. We've actually got a great backup video to go with that coming out when you get your computer back online.
Yes.
And it's been quite an interesting month.
So we've also got the Manfrotto CC197 camcorder bag. If you want to have a look at that, we've got a video up on the YouTube channel, and we'll have a video on the ProMaster XC525 photography tripod that's going up in the not too distant future. And
we're going to be doing a bit of a practical run around with some Osmos at some point. That'll be a bit of fun.
We are, when we work out how to use them properly.
Yes, the mystery.
Yes. So today, Chris, we've got some news.
There's lots going on. I don't even know where to start. There's some cool stuff that's just come out of nowhere in the last month or so.
Well,
been announced anyway.
How about we start off with an announcement from Hasselblad?
Yeah.
So Hasselblad, we are meant to be the high end of low end digital media production, but Hasselblad probably not so much. Probably the high end of high end.
Yeah, traditionally
photography.
Hasselblad were.
Yeah, so they decided to release a mirrorless camera, which traditionally are cheaper than the big brothers, and this is the case, but cheaper than a Hasselblad doesn't really mean that much. So,
so what's the price on it, John?
$9,000 US, body only. So dot point here, I want one but can't afford one. So
now, but is that a medium format camera at that point?
It's a mirrorless medium format camera, yes.
Okay, so anyone in photography land who's ever played with medium format, I certainly came from playing with the RB. I think it was RB67. I think it was the format and the camera, but it was a beautiful camera to work with, and the amount of light that you got into the camera and what you could get away with. I mean, it was, at film school, it's what all the students were given. And, I loved it and did a whole load of black and white on that. And then it was kind of sad moving into the digital world because suddenly you couldn't pick up a body of Mamiya for, $2,500 second hand and have something beautiful in your hands that could do these wonderful pictures. You could, but it was film. And digital backs cost a fortune. They've never really come down in price.
Yep.
So, I mean, $9,000's expensive still, but if they could pull it down to $5,000...
The specs of the camera, 50 megapixels, so no messing about there. 50 million pixels on the sensor there. It's got all the mod cons, Wi-Fi, GPS. It runs with USB-C, which is new and modern and interesting to see, rather than micro or mini USB. Got audio in and out if you want to do video. However, it doesn't do 4K. So you'll get a beautiful HD picture, I'm sure, but only in 1080p.
That's
which
bizarre.
Is a bit of an omission. I'm wondering if it's a heat-related issue. That seems to be, especially with Sony's cameras, some of their really small bodies tend to overheat. So maybe that was a problem. It does have dual SD, so you've got a pro feature in the fact that it's dual SD, probably not a pro thing. But if you've got 2 of them, I can handle that, especially in a smaller body. And it has got some new lenses, and the old ones will work with an adapter, much like Canon or Nikon's mirrorless cameras.
But I mean, the biggest selling point on this is the size of the sensor. It's huge. It's like your full frame sensor times 4. Like it's massive, massive sensor in it. But of course you need to have medium format lenses for it. So, it's a bit of you can't just get your your 50 nifty
drop your $9,000, and then you're going to have to drop a fair bit more to get the lenses.
To get the lenses to go with it. But it's, it is that next level. And as an entry step into that next level, it's good to see something under 10K come out. But moving on, I think, because,
lots to get through.
Lots to get through. And look, Hasselblad's still a dream for most of us, I think.
Yep. Chris, what have you got?
I've got in front of me now something that's completely, unrelated. It's an accessory for audio. It is a new delivery from Testcam, who do audio recorders, and they've been doing recording gear since, forever. And this is a shotgun mic for your camera that comes on a little boom. As I turn my screen around so John can see it and and listen to his response of confusion.
Curious.
And it basically puts your microphone a little bit closer and over the top of your camera towards your talent. And it records on the actual microphone too. It has a little module that records, so that instead of having a separate recorder like strapped to you or something like that, you just use a little recorder in the mic itself, which can be handy if you want to use your body of your camera, for instance, to record a second audio source, so say from a lapel or something like that, and have this as a standalone shotgun recording. These would be inherently useful if you just wanted to get a mic and bang it somewhere quick. Yeah. I would imagine this is a mic that would be super helpful if you're in a shooting situation where you've got a little light stand with the mic mounted on it, and you just need to, or a little lighting stand, just with and you just want to pop it in front of something. You need to get sound in. You've got 30 seconds until something goes live. You haven't got an audio solution. You run with this thing and put it in, because there's no cables hanging off it into an audio recorder or anything like that. It's an all-in-one shotgun mic with an audio recorder attached to it. That, as a prospect, is kind of cool.
I've seen a few of those in the lavalier realm, and you get things, of course, like Rode's smart lav that you use with your phone. So you stick the phone in someone's coat pockets and just trust that it's recording and grab the audio later. It's interesting to see it in a shotgun mic, but I guess it's the same sort of theory.
Yeah, well, it's as I said before, a perfect use case is when you can deal with it in post afterwards. I mean, it's not ideal, but you just want to get a mic in somewhere and you want it to have it recording, and you've already used all your channels up on your camera.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little sort of ancillary mic for doing that.
Yeah, it looks kind of weird though.
It does look weird because it has the boom with it. You don't have to use the little boom. But the boom, see, the problem with a lot of the time is if I'm shooting from you, you're about a meter away from me now. I could be shooting you on a 30 or something like that on a prime and get quite a nice image. But it would be a case of to get the sound, even another 20 centimeters closer to you is going to sound better.
Yeah, definitely. The closer you can get the mic.
Yeah, why not use a lapel? But still.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, interesting concept, and it runs on AAs. It's just out of the box; it just works. So.
Cool. Next up on the list, a little while ago now, but it has been in between shows. So the WWDC, the Worldwide Developers Conference with Apple, happened a little while back, and one of the announcements, which wasn't one of the big ones on stage, was the fact that RAW shooting is coming to iOS. So Android's had this in various capacities for a while now. The iPhone is basically the most widely used camera in the world. So it's interesting to see that they are finally bringing RAW to iOS 10. So it'll only work on the higher-end, more recent phones, so iPhone 6S, the 6S Plus, the SE, and iPad Pro 9.7, not the bigger one, interestingly enough. But it means that apps will be able to get into the nitty-gritty of the photos that you take and give you a lot more control over the pictures that you take, which I'm really looking forward to, because everyone's always saying phones are good enough now. That's a load of crap. They are not. They are nowhere near anything like 1.4 lens on a nice full-frame body. So this will at least give you a little bit more control. One of the things that pisses me off about iPhoneography, as it's called, is the fact that once you take the photo, there isn't much latitude left in the image, because it's been so processed because of computational photography, which is what all phones do.
And they remove the noise and do multiple layers.
Yeah, as soon as you want to really push and pull, especially the edges of the images, the highlights and the shadows, there's nothing left, and you just end up with really horrid artifacting.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can record a RAW and then fix it properly later on, computational photography is fantastic. And the reality is it's the future for lots of things, but I still want to get into the raw data occasionally, and I want to make the decision rather than the phone itself.
So, yeah, have you downloaded any of the
No,
apps yet?
I've denied, and the fact that my main computer blew up means that I want everything else in my life to be reliable. Otherwise, I would have tried it. Interestingly, the iPad Pro can also capture DCI-P3 color space on top of sRGB, which is fascinating to be shooting with an iPad and get that sort of color
it's a
space.
spec.
Yeah. But anyway, look, it's an interesting development, and hopefully it means that we'll have another set of apps that can take advantage come out in the not too distant future.
Talking of something that you might be able to use with a phone, here's another little, I call it a toy that fits in your pocket. And this is a lighting kit. It's essentially...
In your pocket, Chris.
It's essentially a battery with some LEDs attached to it.
Yes.
With a diffuser over the front of it. So it's a credit card size light.
Yep. I've seen similar things before. Yep.
Yeah, and this one's from Aperture, who have made a few sort of... They seem to be quite good at solving problems and putting stuff out at a fairly cheap price. For, 75 Australian, 50 US kind of price, this gives you a light that is, easy to shove in your pocket. You can put 3 of them in your pocket.
Yep.
And just think about the usefulness of having 3 little, ambient lights where if you've got let's just say a situation where you're doing an interview at a bar late at night shooting a documentary, as I will be in New York City in 3 weeks' time.
Yep.
And I've got to just quickly light up the scene in a nice, subtle, small, low-lit way but I want a couple of little lights. So, this thing... I'm probably going to get a little adapter for it that's like a V shape that will go into a bottle, a beer bottle, so that I can actually have like beer bottles and use them as lighting stands. Because I'll have access to people in a bar sort of situation, and I want to have the camera there and just chuck a lapel on them and get interviews. So for that kind of thing, it's going to be absolutely perfect. So I'm planning on getting a couple of these. For $75, it's a no-brainer. Little thing to have in your kit.
Yeah, pretty cheap.
Charges off USB, so it doesn't have the AA battery option, which is a bit frustrating. But very simple. It's the Aperture Armen M9. We'll chuck it up on the
on the show
Purple Fringe page as well. But yeah, I personally think little lights are super handy, but you've got to be sort of a little diffused, and that's the traditional problem.
Yeah, because there's the Cube light out there, which is a similar sort of price, I think. Which is kind of cool. It's just a little cube, and there's, I think, 2 companies that make something very similar, but you are getting a very localized light source. The fact that you mentioned bottles earlier, Chris, reminds me of some projects that I've seen in third world countries where people are basically putting LEDs inside water bottles and using them as ceiling lights, and they last for ages and get powered off the sun and give a nice diffused look. So maybe you could basically pump this into a water bottle or something to diffuse it a little bit more.
Well, I don't know if they're waterproof. They might be. Well, they look like they could be. They're fairly... apart from the USB slot. But yeah, another interesting little development that's come out.
Premiere CC 2015 version 3.
Yeah.
I can't keep track of the CC version numbers anymore. Premiere's up to version 3, After Effects up to version 3. I think Photoshop's up to version 5, and all these other apps are up to different versions. But the latest version of Premiere from Adobe released a couple of weeks ago. A couple of big changes. The main one, from what I can see, is focused on workflow. So they've introduced a lot of proxy stuff, which is the old case of what's old is new again. Many other apps have had this forever, and you've been able to do proxy workflows in Premiere. It's just been a little bit hacky. They've now got a fully featured proxy workflow. You can do a proper ingest and generate proxies on ingest and then switch reasonably seamlessly between the two, a la Final Cut or something like that. It gives you a little bit more control over your proxies. So if you want to stick a big dirty watermark over your proxies or something like that, or you want super duper low bitrate proxies because you're editing on a tablet or whatever the case may be, it does give you a fair bit of control, which is kind of cool. So I'm up for that in this world of 5K, 6K, 8K video.
Why didn't they get it right with the HD world? Like, we've been needing proxies. There's been sort of 3 or 4 times in history where we've needed a good proxy system, and Avid's always had it in its own kind of way with its transcoding everything that comes into the system. Some of the other Edius has had a proxy system for a while, as has Final Cut, I think, in some, or is it only the new one?
No, you could do proxies. It's just a lot easier in X 10.
Surprising it's only coming along now, but right.
Look, it looks like it'd be okay. They've sort of hidden it away, which is something that Adobe seems to be doing with some of their new features, which is a bit annoying. It's not immediately present on the surface as soon as you launch the new version, but it is there. With respect to 3D video support, you can now actually edit 3D content, and you can pan around in it.
Yeah, I've already done that actually.
Sorry? You've already done that? Yep. You've had a crack at that? How does it work?
Yeah, it works okay.
Yeah?
No, it worked all right. The only thing is that we shot on the iFly 360 4K, so, or the Fly 360 Fly, is it called? I can't remember. 360 Fly, I think it is. Yeah, and, drink. Oh, And look, it worked. Yeah, I've actually got another video which I'm working on soon, which I shot. I actually, I hung a 360 camera over a band.
Yep.
It was a 22-piece band that had like a choir and had a violin section and had with lots of musicians, and then you're hovering above the dance floor, and it actually looks amazing. But I
think constants are actually one of the few
things that works really well.
Especially once we get to the point where we can do it live, then it'll be
yeah. We're talking about trying to do that at the moment at work.
Multicam 360 live.
Yeah, that's the dream, isn't it? It's possible. You just got to keep 4 lines of switch the whole time and have 4 switches running all your channels all the time.
And the lag's a bit dreadful at the moment from what I can see on my tests with YouTube at least.
Yeah. Well, there's lag, but I mean, you don't really. Yeah, it doesn't matter if there's a little bit of delay between.
A little bit's not too bad, but anything interactive.
Yeah.
We're trying to do a project at the moment where we stick up a sky crane and stick a 360 camera on it and then have a VR headset connected up to that. Doesn't work because there's a 30-second lag.
Is that a skull offence? In case you've just joined us on the Purple Fringe for the first episode, we drink every time we talk about immersive video, 360 VR, or virtual reality.
So other benefits and improvements to version 3 of Premiere CC. Edit while importing. Every other system's had that forever. Built-in stock purchases may be useful occasionally, and also you can sell your own stuff. So maybe if you're a budding videographer, you can stick some stuff up there if it's any good. Even if it's not, I think you can still stick it up there. Performance enhancements, faster on metal. I'm putting up the heavy metal sign right now on Mac, and Intel Iris H.264 on Windows. Native decode, aka no QuickTime, aka no security risks on Windows. So
can you open
ProRes?
Can you open ProRes files now?
You can open ProRes files. You can open animation files and a few other files.
Can I open JPEG?
JPEG.
Because a lot of stock material, old stock material is photo JPEG codec.
Yeah, photo JPEG. Not sure about that. There will be some. I don't think you can open any of your Cinepack files, Chris.
Damn.
No Sorensen.
No,
well, I don't know. There might be Sorensen. Who knows?
But yeah,
ProRes is the main one.
So they have put support in. So we were talking a few weeks ago about the fact that this whole QuickTime debacle on the PC is been a bit of an issue, but it seems that Premiere have jumped straight on board and come up with a solution within a single version, which is good because this could have been a bit of an ongoing thing. But
yes,
I think Premiere, especially at the moment, seem to be quite good at having a team together who are creating nice, solid software.
Well, yes, and they're also nicking all the good features from Final Cut, which I'm both annoyed and happy about because it means that, hey, we're getting better software. There's been a few articles I've noted in the last week, Chris, about what's going on with Final Cut because it has been quiet for a while and there has been a few meetings and NDAs being signed. So people are suggesting that maybe the next one will be a big one. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out there. And since Adobe are nicking all their ideas, well, maybe they're trying to hold off on revealing them. But anyway, look, Final Cut and Premiere neck and neck at the moment. I think Premiere's definitely getting the market share, though. I'm seeing a lot of people cutting on Premiere, a lot of people moving away from Avid.
Yeah, interesting that. A lot of people still swearing by Avid, though, and the Avid users are getting more Avid-y.
Yeah, I know, and I'm not sure why they're swearing by Avid, but they are.
Oh, look, I can tell you why they swear by Avid, because I work a lot with people who swear by it. And it's because it's
worked for ages. Yeah.
It's because it transcodes everything into DNx HD, and everyone goes DNx HD 36, which has like a ton of overhead as far as power because you could edit it on a Pentium 4, and it just has so much power with a modern day processor that
many of the people using Avid are editing on a Pentium 4 from what I've seen.
Oh well, no, the guys that I'm working with now are using it on the Dustbin Mac Pros and. It screams. It screams so fast because you drag stuff in and it media manages like no other system. It forces you to media manage.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like annoying as hell.
Which is the opposite of what Adobe's always preached and Edius has preached.
Exactly. And it puts everything in its own folder structure, its own place with its own file names, and you have to name everything through the metadata rather than So you sort of have some idea of where the files are on the hard disk, but it manages that for you. So the hard disk is a magical place where things just happen.
Yeah.
And
which is not dissimilar to the Final Cut 10 database system.
But the one thing Avid does that I have not seen any other system do is it has bin files saved for every single bin. So if you're trying to merge projects and you've got 4 or 5 people working on a project together off a shared NAS, which you can set up, you can have easily 3 or 4 people, no brainer, like working on the same project.
Yeah, which has always been a big advantage of Avid.
Yeah, and if I double click on a thing, it'll say, I can't open this because Tanya down the corridor is using it. Oh, so I've got to go, hey, Tanya, I need to use something out of your bin, like, or out of your project. Edius for Work Groups does a similar thing.
Yeah.
And Premiere...
Well, Premiere has its technology, but at the moment, it's not for the normal person. It's definitely not for the high end of low end. It's for big news corporations at this stage.
Got you.
Yeah.
So that is why people ask where. But I mean, more and more, we are going to have projects where multiple people are working on stuff, and you just want it to be able to, to access things. And it's like with Photoshop files, where you're just giving people, I guess, a file with layers and things in to work on, and they take their bits and work. You want to be able to have it so it updates through the chain. And, they've never quite got that solid so that you can actually be working on something and have objects update. Well, you can obviously right-click and then update asset. So if you're in After Effects and you're bringing Photoshop stuff in, you can have a designer working on things and actually improving and changing it and having it updating in a project. That's the kind of stuff we want to be able to see happen in Premiere, where someone else can be working on something in another Premiere project, and it's actually reflecting in your too. Whether it'll
Google
happen,
Docs for editing.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Chris, anything else on your list?
There is. Sorry,
as you attempt to open your beer?
I'm trying to open a beer with a bottle of pliers. We forgot a bottle opener.
While you're doing that, I'm going to attempt mine.
Okay, there is. Actually, I've got a couple more bits of news here. So we've got a Nikon D5, which is, of course, the high-end Nikon DSLR. They finally allowed it to shoot more than 3 minutes at 4K.
That's nice of them. Why did they do that?
Because the D5 came out and it was like, can only shoot 3 minutes at a time, but picture looks phenomenal. It's like, oh, what? So now you can shoot the obligatory 29 minutes and 59 seconds of video on the Nikon 5D, Nikon D5. So for all you pros out there with a nice D5 body, you can actually shoot proper 4K now. Get that update. Something interesting, actually, that's come out recently, if we're talking news that's got me scratching my head a bit, is a little known company called Saramonic. Have you heard of Saramonic before?
I have not.
Okay, so all right, so Saramonic are a Chinese company that have popped up. They're probably an offshoot of another company, and they've made a radio transmitter pack, which looks awfully like a Sony UWP D11, which is the sort of standard Sony transmitter receiver pack lapel microphone kit that you buy.
Yep.
And instead of being $600-700, we're actually selling them here for $300, which is a real bargain. But the interesting thing about it is that it's actually 2 transmitters and 1 receiver, and it's a stereo receiver. So the traditional problem is when you've got 2, especially if you're shooting with a DSLR, and you've got 2 receiver packs for your wireless lapel kits, it's a pain in the ass trying to mount it on your camera because you can't mount 2 kits without getting a cage system, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Whether if you've got 1 and you can mount that on your top of your camera, that's going to save you a lot of hassle. So this is 2 transmitter packs and a receiver pack, and it's $300 US, which is ungodly cheap. It's a quarter of the price when you consider it's 2. And yeah, it does things like it automatically finds free frequencies in inverted commas, so frequencies that do not have anything transmitting on it, and then transmits the frequencies from the receiver. So the receiver does a scan and goes, okay, these are empty spots. Transmitters, you should transmit on this signal, and transmitter 2, you should transmit on this signal. So it's supposed to be a one-button press configuration, busy signal area where you can just instantly get 2 channels and start shooting.
I'll be interested to see what free channels it does choose, because one of the issues we face as Aussies is that very recently they decided to restack the digital spectrum.
Yep. We have
And that
limited options. Yeah.
basically meant that a whole lot of people got fucked over in terms of their wireless gear, whether it be people like us doing a documentary down the street, or whether it be a church minister who was trying to preach to his congregation. Anyone using wireless gear may have been stomped on and had to repurchase gear. So we have particularly weird wireless laws about the gear that can be used, down to the suburb if you actually want to follow the letter of the law. So you can go from one suburb to another, and it's potentially true that the gear you can use in one suburb you can't use in the next suburb. It's bizarre.
Pretty stupid. And in actual fact, what it's come down to is that it doesn't really matter as long as you buy the Australian certified gear, then you're fine. But
even though the
bizarre.
Australian certified gear technically can operate on illegal frequencies, and the defaults on many of the pieces of equipment jump into the illegal frequencies. So, yes, it's bizarre. So I'm interested to see what frequencies this operates on.
And it doesn't actually say, I mean, I'm sure the specifications, I'm trying to find the specs.
It does look identical in style to the UWP D16 units in my office.
It's a Sony, very Sony.
Sony will be very upset at this product.
And they have a transmitter called a TX10 and a receiver called an RX10.
Right, they're very, very upset.
Be fuming.
Yes.
But look, I mean, this is one of those Chinese products that's come out. I can only assume it's Chinese. And it's a really well-priced product for what you're getting. And if it actually delivers what it says, it could be a really cheap, great way to get two transmitters, two lapel kits for $300, which is really cheap. The biggest complaint that the reviewer managed to get, that I read a review on, he got an early pack, was that they're very heavy. So if you traditionally use the Sennheiser EWP 100 sort of kits, this is apparently 3 times heavier. So it's a little block of steel.
Big. Yeah.
And then he went on to say, oh, well, the battery clasp that goes on the back of it is actually really flimsy and plasticky and looks like it's going to snap. So I don't know. It sort of screams as a product that has potential.
Look, there's lots of other cheap, especially in America, not in this country, but in America, you can get lots of cheap wireless gear, and this looks like a super duper version of some of that. It gives you a lot more features because most of those are just basically 2 frequencies, and you hope that one of them's clear. We can't get those, or we can get those, but we generally try to avoid those in this country. So this looks like somewhere in between the the higher end stuff like Sony and Sennheiser, and now we've got Rode playing in this space as well. So this is just a little bit cheaper again, and giving you some features that some of the big boys, aka Sony and Sennheiser, are not giving you in terms of the stereo functionality. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that stereo functionality is something I've been looking for a long time. Just a single receiver that has 2 outputs on it.
Well, yeah, eventually, hopefully there'll be some sort of digital standard that makes this a lot easier and a lot smaller and a lot more reliable. But until then, this looks like an interesting way of attacking the problem.
Especially because cameras already have Wi-Fi built into them.
Yes, it's unreliable, but yes, they do have that. I'm thinking an Ethernet jack might be a bit more reliable. Ethernet always better than Wi-Fi. Anyway, Chris, anything else on your list before we get into the main topic for today?
Trying to open a beer with
Chris
a pair of
is
pliers.
opening a beer. We might take a break while Chris.
I
Success!
got it.
There we go. Excellent.
Hey.
Fantastic.
That was a
all right.
We might have to actually upload our
bruising
beer
on my
tops.
fingers from.
We've done
this.
some epic beer opening.
Yes, with some cheap rubbish pliers. Chris, today's main topic revolves around a camera that you and I have both had a bit of experience with.
Yeah. That
is Sony's new baby. This is the Sony PXW-Z150 video camcorder. It's a nice little camera. We've created a video, which, as Chris mentioned earlier in the show, will be up hopefully shortly. However, in the interim, we've got a pretty good sense of what this camera is like in the real world.
So this is a camera that Sony have released as part of an answer to its long lineup of classic cameras. If you go back to the, we're going back even further, 1998, kind of to the early VX1000, VX2000 series of Sony's cameras that were the first sort of high-quality semi-broadcast cameras that were were prosumer. They basically almost invented the prosumer brand. I mean, there was a few guys...
Back when prosumer wasn't a dirty word.
No, that's right. And there was an 8mm camera before that. But the early or high 8 camera that had proper mic inputs and things. And this was kind of the DV camera that started it all, I guess, the DVX 1000. Was it 1000? Or the...
You're a little older than me, Chris, so I wasn't in that generation.
Or VRX 1000 it was. Yeah. So basically that came out and it followed on with the PD150 and the PD170, and then everything went HD, and then it went to the Z1, and then everything got a little sharper, and it went to the sort of Z7, Z5, and then it sort of moved from that to the
X160s and stuff like
sort
that.
Of intermediate that were like the XD cam sort of style. So you've got just above that you had your EX1s that were around your $9,000 mark, $8,000 mark. But there was always this price point that was around $5,000, $6,000 Australian, or about sort of $4,500 US dollars. That was that first step into getting a pro body that had all the buttons in the places that you needed to, get to everything instantly. So you have manual buttons for gain, manual buttons and switches for white balance, and a manual iris ring, a manual focus ring, a manual zoom ring, and you had everything. And then you had batteries that lasted for 5 hours. You had dual media slots. All that pro stuff sort of came in at that $5,000 mark.
Yep.
And we've been waiting for another camera for a while that sort of answers the 4K side of things. And Sony did it a while ago with their Z100. And there was a couple of complaints with that. And in particular, the 4K wasn't quite sharp.
I thought you were going to say shit.
Oh, well, it was shit. That's why it wasn't quite sharp.
Basically, if it was indoors, it didn't work.
Yeah, so this is now Sony's new sensor system, their 1-inch sensor, which is slightly bigger.
Stacked sensor.
Yep. And it's a camera that is designed to follow on from the Z5, from those classic range of cameras. And it kind of does.
Kind of. Before we get into the kind of details, let's run through some of the specs of it.
Let's do it.
It's the NPF battery, so the 770 is what it comes with. We use the 970s with it for the most part.
Which is great if you've got an old series, like
batteries,
if you've
got a few of them kicking around.
Traditional batteries.
A lot of lights use those batteries. Even some wireless mics and stuff can use those
batteries.
Audio
recorders can use those batteries too. There's a lot of stuff and monitors as well, external monitors.
Yeah.
Can all use that.
Good point. Yep.
NP series.
Stuff you probably want to get on top of it. It doesn't come with a shotgun mic, which is an important thing to note because generally, at this sort of price point, you have got a shotgun mic. Not always, but often you did get one. This doesn't come with a shotgun mic, so it's something to consider. Grab a bag, grab some extra memory cards. It takes SD. It's got dual slots, so a couple of 64 gigs or maybe even larger. And you probably want at least one extra battery.
I'll complain on that front. The battery that comes with it's not big enough.
Yeah, they're not. 770, the 770s.
It'll give you an hour and a half.
The 970 doesn't sound that much bigger from a number, but it is that much bigger from actual capacity.
Honestly, the best thing you do is get 2 of those and you'll be shooting all day.
Yep. Now, with the zoom ratio, it is a 12 times optical zoom, which doesn't seem like much. It also gives you the Sony clear zoom technology, which is digital zoom that doesn't suck, which is how I'm referring to it. It gives you up to 18 times zoom with the clear zoom, which is, as you'll see on the video version of our review, a reasonable amount of distance. It's not as good as some of the other cameras. Things like the X160/X180 has a 25 times optical zoom, so that's got it beat there. But this is a pretty good zoom range if you are happy with clear zoom.
Yep, and so far it seems to be all right.
Yep. It's reasonably lightweight for its size. It is a little bit more compact than some of the other cameras that have come before it. Again, comparing with its bigger brother, the X180, which is kind of its baby brother in some respects, but physically it's its bigger brother. It's nearly 800 grams lighter, so for its size, it's a pretty light camera. What do we like, Chris? What do you think was good about this camera?
I think the picture quality that comes out of it...
kind of important in camera?
Yeah. I mean, certainly for doing landscapes and for doing wides and for doing run and gun on the fly, just getting at a conference or a wedding or an event, or it's like, even with bands or something like that, it's... If you've just got to swing a camera around and get something into focus pretty quickly and capture it in its essence, it's a fantastic camera for that.
For those who aren't familiar with the form factor, it's a very good run and gun form factor. It's got a nice big chunky handle on top. You can grab it out of the bag. It's got a built-in lens hood cover, so you don't have to worry about taking off lens caps and that sort of thing. The buttons are mostly there, sometimes in weird places, but they are all there.
We'll get to that.
Look, the autofocus system on it's okay. It does have facial tracking, which most cameras do these days, and that works reasonably well, apart from when you're in the clear zoom ratio.
You zoom into a certain point and suddenly all your autofocus just kills
goes a
itself.
bit funny. It goes back to stupid autofocus.
It has built-in ND filters. That's an absolute lifesaver. So if you need to suddenly...
even the X70 now does.
Yeah,
all Sony's cameras have built-in ND
filters.
Yeah.
It's so handy just to be able to flick that ND filter. If you suddenly find yourself outside and you need to pull the exposure down by magnitudes, you can do that with a single click.
Chromatic aberration is pretty good. No big issues there.
If you push in, and this is typical, is when you zoom right in at your lowest f-stop, it tends to break up a little bit. This camera is fantastic.
Pretty good,
It's sharp. The lens technology in this is really good quality.
Yeah. Look, as Chris talked about earlier, Wi-Fi is included in the camera. It's not too laggy, but it's still unreliable. Not like the first generation of stuff. It works a lot better than that, but I would not use it on a mission-critical thing, except maybe if it's a wide and I'm just checking focus or maybe trying to push in just a tad. I would not be using this for anything else that's mission-critical. On
the side of audio, because audio is important, the audio inputs are fantastic, really clean, records uncompressed audio, LPCM audio. It has a hot shoe mount as well, which means you can just put the Sony receivers if you've got with the hot shoe mount.
Yeah, if you get the MAD adapter cable or whatever it's called.
Yeah, you can just click it straight on and not have cables to hook up, so very fast to hook up a receiver. Switches to switch between inputs and things like that, so you can very easily switch it back to mic, to your internal mics. Something that even the professional cameras 3 times the price don't allow you to do, as I found out recently. What
about recording at 100 frames per second constantly, Chris?
It does record at 100 frames per second constantly, as does my little RX10 that's a third of the price, as does not my camera that is 3 times the price, but we'll get to that. Maybe a firmware update will fix that. So and look, it seems to be quite well supported as well. Sony have released a firmware upgrade for it already, and I mean, I can't complain much about it as a camera.
It needs a bit of light to get going, especially if you come from something that uses a Super 35 sensor or a full frame sensor with SLR. Now, that being said, you can crank the gain and not worry too much with this camera. Many years ago, you'd be going, ooh, I've put 9 dB of gain in there. That's going to start to look a bit dodgy. This camera, it's not really an issue at all.
You can get it up to sort of 20 dB before it falls apart.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Depth of field, you're not going to get super shallow depth of field, but hey, that can sometimes be a good thing.
It's not going to be a filmic camera. You're not going to get your really beautiful filmic look or your classy interviews kind of thing. It's
if you do want to use this camera as an interview camera and you do want a shallow depth of field, you're going to need big rooms, basically, or big spaces where you've got depth behind your subject and depth in front of your subject so you can get the camera back and really punch in on the lens.
Yeah.
Macro stuff, as you'll see in our video review, it does macro stuff really well. Like, couldn't complain too much, really. You can't do any macro at the long end of the lens, but if you pull back a bit and get in nice and tight, it can do some surprising stuff with the macro side of things.
And certainly getting in super close, and you could even put it on a little slider and just sort of tuck it along and get some really nice detail shots of something super close. I mean, it really does that well, and that's something that's you can't even do without a lot of stuffing around on bigger cameras. So
with the built-in stabilization on the lens, I started off thinking it was all right. I'm upgrading that to reasonably good, in fact.
Yeah, I mean, compared to... It has an active steady mode that's quite good. So compared to some of the other cameras that are out there, it's heavier, so it will kind of bounce around in your hand a little bit more just from being, heavier. You've also got more what we call low-frequency vibration. The lighter your camera, generally, the higher frequency the vibration. So what I mean by that is
mobile phone style shaky cam.
Yeah, your hands are dampened. Once something's heavy enough, you sort of dampen the shake. And it does quite a good job of pulling off the sort of mid shake. I mean, there's still a little bit of wobble in your shots when you're shooting, but that shaky shake look, that sort of super vibrating shake
look.
yeah, it certainly removes that. And you can walk along with this camera and interview someone as they're walking and get away with it if you practice.
Yeah.
It takes a bit of practice, and you got to walk like, you're sort of on your almost like, I can't explain it, but like there's this super like slidey walk.
You need to go to the bathroom really badly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's probably where we'd be going with it. So you've got a walk that you can walk with this camera and get away with shooting stuff run and gun, which is kind of cool. For documentary work and for even things like skateboard videos and stuff like that, it'd be pretty cool, I reckon.
Yeah. Now, in terms of things that could be improved, the number of buttons, there aren't enough buttons. Like one of the things you pay for these days is buttons, really. Like it's form factor. You pay a lot for form factor these days, and I think Sony's crippled this a little bit with the buttons because, hey, buttons don't cost that much.
No,
and they have limited them.
They've missed one key button, which is a joystick on the hand grip side. If they'd have put a joystick on that and a menu button, they would have made a killer camera. And it sounds so stupid that we'd be saying, oh, getting to the menu is tricky. There's quite a few times when you need to duck into a menu and change something. Now, all the traditional cameras that came before this had a little menu button on the side at the back. I automatically move there, like, motor in my brain.
I've been using this camera several times a week for the last month, and I still move there looking for the menu button.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Every Sony camera before this, you had the menu button at the back of the camera, and you had a little roller.
Even on the X70, it's down on the left-hand side. You just
rolled up and down, and then you touch the roller to get to the next option. And it was, and then you press the menu button to go back. And it was a real simple, really effective menu system. These guys, oh my God, they've put the menu on the top of the camera where you can't see it.
Underneath where the LCD would go. So if you're using the EVF, you cannot push the menu button.
And every time you touch the menu buttons, if it's on a tripod, you can't see it. If you're handheld, you've got to move your supporting hand, like that's on the front of the camera, on top of the camera. It's impossible to use without wobbling and screwing up your shot in almost every situation.
People saying, well, why don't you just remap the menu button? Yes, you can do that. But as we mentioned before, there's not enough buttons to begin with, let alone if you remap one of them to be the menu button.
You could remap the menu button, but then the navigation to go up, down, left, right.
You're still on top.
You're still on top of the camera. So... look, honestly, it's probably the most moronic decision I've ever seen. It's the most product-destroying decision I've ever seen any manufacturer come up with, and I'm going to put that on the record. And I'm actually going to commit to that. That is totally... Sony made an amazing camera, and they fucked it with their menu controls.
And the other thing is, again, you can remap it, but there is no histogram button. There is no peaking button. All these things that you need as a run-and gun shooter, they're not there. So you need to go into the fucking menu, so you need... You need to use that fucking menu button on top.
And the previous models had these buttons. This is the thing. Yeah. They removed them. And there's a lot of those buttons where you're just like, hang on, that button doesn't exist anymore. And when you've moved from the previous models and suddenly these buttons are missing that have always been critical, and they're still critical today.
Look, I could forgive it on something like the X70, but at least it has the menu button in the right spot.
Yeah.
It doesn't have peaking either and doesn't have histogram either. But at least the menu button's on the left-hand side.
And we're talking a much lesser camera, which is probably more functional just because you can get to everything, if you need to get to it.
Look, those big issues aside, other smaller issues, things like the weird defaults, like when you power up the camera for the first time, it's in interlace mode. How often do you shoot in interlace mode, Chris, these days?
Only if it's doing news coverage. So it is the broadcast standard, but...
Yeah, not that often anymore. Clear zoom's turned off. All the buttons are mapped to things I don't care about, like S&Q motion. So, yeah, not quite what I want. I'd like it to do higher frame rates in Ultra HD. So its main competitor, I would argue, would be the Panasonic DVX-200.
It's a little bit more expensive.
A little bit more expensive.
A higher category, but yeah.
But, it does 50p at Ultra HD. And I think we are moving towards 50p reasonably quickly. I know a lot of people who swear by 50p these days. I'm not that into it, but I do like it for particular things. It can't do it, which is a bit of a shame. The ND's not variable. Not a massive thing, I suppose, at this price point, but there are other cameras out there that do it at this price point, so it would be nice to see. The transition between optical and clear zoom, it's noticeable. It's not a massive thing. A normal person probably wouldn't notice.
It has a little stutter.
It's like a... best way I can describe it is like a drop frame. Most people don't notice a drop frame. I notice a drop frame. So
when you're zooming into a subject, it sort of has this little pause before it continues zooming in.
Yes.
I got to say my FS5 does that too. So
yeah.
as does the FS7. So
Look, there are some banding and noise issues with shadows once you start pushing the gain a little bit. Nothing major, but it's definitely there. The USB connection, Chris, micro USB.
Yeah, I mean, what else do you expect? You don't use a micro USB that much.
For it to be mini at the very least, but
yeah, micro USB is all the rage, man. And
I know,
but I'm surprised they didn't use
good.
USB 3, like a proper USB 3 connector. Like it's
like a B connector.
Well, yeah,
one.
with the big you know.
Well, yes, it would be the exact opposite of what they decided to use, and it would be good.
Yeah,
because it would be a little bit more robust.
And the cable they give you with it is like is 30 centimeters
or so. Yes.
The first thing you do is throw out the cable. It's like, oh god, what is this stupid cable? And they don't give you a memory card reader with it, which I was a little dark with.
Yeah.
And talking of accessories in the box, John, would you like to talk about the battery charger? Because I know you're itching.
The charger. What the hell, Sony? What the hell?
It's a drink offense.
It is. It's more than a drink offense. It's a horrible little plastic L-shaped piece of crap. It's pretty horrible, really. Like the power connector that goes into it is not a micro USB connector, but it's
it may as well be.
Size, so it's going to break. I mean,
we're talking about battery charger
as well. Like it gives you one LED that says, yes, I'm charging. It's like, well, great. How long are you going to take? Or, how much battery life I've got left or something else. Like the original battery chargers that came with the Z7 or even
exactly what I was
even some
to.
of the cheaper ones that didn't have displays, but at least they had multiple LEDs to show you how far progressed you were. This is just some cheap little piece of shit. And also the fact that you go from the charger to a power brick to a figure 8 cable, you end up with this big behemoth of cables, and it's messy and it's unsightly, and it sounds like we're getting amped over nothing.
No. The reason we're getting amped is because the Z5, the Z7s, and even some of the cameras came with this charger that was a dual dock charger. And you got the camera, you bought the camera, it came with this giant dual dock charger. So the first thing you said is, it's got 2 docks on it, I need to buy another battery. So it meant you'd automatically buy another battery. But these things were great. You put the battery on and it came up with a full display that said how many minutes until the battery was charged, how many minutes of life the battery had in it, and a full kind of report on the battery. And it was great. And you had 2 charger docks and it would swap from charger A to charger B, when it had finished. So you could constantly have batteries on charge and be shooting and knowing where you're at. And this little battery charger, I mean, my Canon charger, my point and shoot Ixus that was like $120 has a better charger than this thing, and this is a $5,500 camera.
Rubbish.
What the fuck? And it feels cheaper than a shitty charger that you get with a crappy point and shoot camera.
Yeah, have a look at the video. You'll see what we mean.
Anyway.
The lens, I wish it was faster at the long end. It's a 2.8 to f4 lens, so it's not horrible, but look, I'd like it to be 2.8 all the way through, or even faster at the wide end, as some of the predecessors were. And the small size of the camera is good and bad. It can be bad because the ergonomics are perhaps not what they could be.
Yeah, being a bit short. What happens is when you wedge your camera, it's hard to explain, but against your chest, and you're actually holding the camera and you're looking through it. The older cameras would place the screen about a foot in front of your face. So that was about a distance where you can sort of focus without totally destroying your eyes. I have a theory that every 5 centimeters closer you get to your eyes, you're sort of like needing, an extra 0.5 on your glasses in the next few years coming, because your eyes are just focusing on this stupidly close, distance to look at the mini screen on the camera. So, and it's like that with this. If you're trying to shoot it and wedge it so it's stable, the screen ends up about 15 centimeters in front of your face.
You kind of want to wedge it because it's lighter than some of the other cameras, but it's still not easy. It's the sort of camera that you can go handheld completely for 10 minutes and then your wrist starts to hurt and your hand starts to hurt from the weight. So it is a camera that encourages itself to be wedged, but doesn't really work that way.
And of course, the display on it, it's okay, but it's not going to give you a 4K image. If you really want to see a nice resolved HD image, you're going to have to put another monitor on it.
Yeah, that being said, though, it's not a bad screen. I don't mind.
Oh, it's a great screen for what it is. It's it's small, but it's going to give you. I think it's 960 by whatever the other is. So it's actually quarter HD, which is not too bad. But it's not. I mean, when you're trying to shoot 4K and using peaking and things, it's still a bit tricky to see when you're exactly in focus.
So overall, our conclusion, and I'll keep this a bit shorter than we did in the video, I think basically it's a reliable workhorse that's crippled somewhat by that stupid menu button.
Yeah.
If they'd fix that up, again, it sounds like such a little thing until you use it. It's freaking annoying. If they'd fixed that, I think it would be a very serviceable camera. It is a very serviceable camera. It's just a serviceable camera with this annoyance of tapping on the top of the camera, looking for the menu button and the D-pad every now and then. So, look, yeah, a good camera. If you are looking for something to do, run and gun corporate or weddings or documentary or whatever it may be, you're not looking for super shallow depth of field, you've generally got some light to work with or using a lighting kit, it's a great camera.
Yep.
If you are trying to shoot in very low light conditions, if you want super shallow depth of field, it's probably not the camera for you. You should check out something higher end like the FS7 or the FS5 if you can spring for that. But or maybe you're shooting on SLRs perhaps even.
Yeah. And at that point, you're sort of really hitting the, 6,000-7,000 for an entry, A7 sort of camera, or, going up to the sort of 14-15 grand of an FS5 or 20 grand of the FS7. The interesting thing with this camera is that I can get great shots out of it. I can get out and shoot with it and mostly enjoy shooting with it. But there was enough with it through that menu option and a few other things that I went to buy one and I bought something else because those little things were just enough for me. Plus, I decided to take the next step and go higher end. But Would I recommend it as a camera? And if I think about it, yes, I would, because what else are you really going to buy for that money?
Yeah, look,
it's going to be that good. I mean, it's an amazing camera. The picture, we're talking about a picture, which is all your audience are going to see at the end of the day. Picture is amazing. You might need a little bit of, like if you're doing interviews with critical focus, you might need to get a monitor in just so you can double check your focus. But you can punch in.
At least you can punch in while you're recording and get a good sense of it.
Yeah, you can punch in. The punch in isn't perfect, but it's still pretty
decent.
Good.
It's usable. Look, despite my frustrations with it, I found myself using the camera quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, and it's not perfect, but it's a good run and gun camera. If you want the sexy shallow depth of field, you're looking at higher end Sony or Blackmagic or something like that. So, yeah, overall, pretty good camera.
But it's got three things that mean that it will be your ideal camera, which is battery life. Yep. Get 2 of those MP 970s. And you're shooting for 9 hours, 12 hours. Basically, you never have to worry about a battery in your life again. Do not underestimate how amazing that is as a something to strike off your list.
Whereas Blackmagic, battery life, not so good.
Let's not even talk about that. It has fantastic audio quality, and the audio inputs are just rock solid. It will record until the cows come home. You've got codec configuration with a bitrate, which is a nice iframe format. Sorry, a nice, long GOP format. So other than an iframe format, which, these cameras will just eat memory for breakfast, that it shoots small files that look fantastic. And I mean, you rarely would see it break up, like exceedingly rarely.
Unless you are shooting confetti.
Unless you're shooting, but even then it'll still hold for the most part. And
I just love it when the grand final's on broadcast TV.
You're one of those people who pauses it.
It just goes completely to shithouse when the confetti cannons fire. It's fantastic.
So there's a lot of reasons for this camera to really hold up, and it does. Those reasons alone are reasons to use it. And I mean, even when you put it down to 60 megabits per second, it still holds on the 4K mode.
Yep.
And that's great because you can shoot, 4 or 5 hours per memory card at 4K, and that is just amazing.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, look, it cannot complain, really, as a 4K entry-level camera for $4,500, Gee, there's nothing else that will touch it. Just move the menu button, please, Sony. What were you doing? So, for the X200, I'm all about the Z200. So, the next model, is the Z200 going to be it? Or what about the Z170? Are they going to go back on their naming
regime? They could do a 160 and a 180 like the... no, they can't do that. They've already done that.
And, of course, you might want something like there's a new ICANN DH7 coming out, which is a 4K monitor that you can slap on top and gives you a really, really clean image on a screen that you can use outdoors, really bright. So there's all these options that are starting to come out in the next few months that you could slap on it to make it even more functional.
Indeed. All right, Chris, a beer of the week. Now, we worked for this one, didn't we, Chris, with those needle nose pliers? The Wicked Elf Pale Ale. 5.4% alcohol.
It is. It's a small batch, handcrafted, finest quality beer from Port Macquarie in Australia. It's up near where my folks live. So this is, in fact, where your folks live too. So this is up in Australia, or if you go up the east coast side of Australia and you swing past Sydney and you keep going and you keep driving for about 7.5 hours, you hit this little place called Port Macquarie. It's a lovely little spot. It is a port, as it says. It's not a working port anymore. It's more of a retirement
village
sort of town / holiday place. I'm trying to think. It's a bit like Cornwall in the UK, or I'm trying to think in America what it'd be the equivalent of, like not Florida, or Miami, but it's definitely got that vibe of it's a bit Long Island-y. But yeah, it's sort of quite well known for its produce, and they've produced a beer.
Yeah, look, I don't know what to say about this one. I like it. I'm not dumbfounded by it.
It hasn't got anything that pokes out as its defining character. It's got a hoppy foundation to it. There's but it's not super. It's not a sour hops. It's kind of like a fairly processed hops.
It's nice. It's just
fruity as well.
Yeah,
it's got a bit of
like
everything.
A lot of beers we have, in that they're fine. Someone hands you a beer and you say, "Great, thanks, this is lovely," but it's not something I necessarily seek out. I don't think.
It says best served in a chilled glass. Well,
maybe that's our problem.
Maybe that's our problem. We're opening it with pliers and doing a blog, and we're not sitting in an establishment.
Nice leather Chesterfield.
That's
how we should drink it.
Anyway, guys, thanks for sticking with us for another week.
Yeah, we'll try and do the next one not in a month or two. We'll try and, although Chris is off on his adventures over in the United States of America, hopefully he doesn't encounter Donald Trump while he's over there.
No.
And we'll get an episode done, I think, when he gets back. Maybe
we'll get one before I go.
All right, maybe.
But it's either way.
You get to visit the holy mecca of digital media production, B&H.
Yeah, I will be going to B&H while I'm in New York. That's on my to-do list.
Yes.
And I've got specific things I want to pick up. Might include this DH7 monitor, if I can get hold of it.
Excellent.
Because that's been my big thing at the moment. And we might even talk about the FS5 at some point in the future. It's been quite an interesting camera to have a relationship with for the last few months for me.
All right, Chris. Till next time.
This is the sound effect of John opening a bottle of beer with a pair of pliers.
A very good sound effect. Very sad sound effect.
The sound effects on this will probably prove how ineffective it is.
To open a bloody bottle of beer with needle nose pliers. Just work your way around. This is hard going, this is.
Damn.